few days ago over on LinkedIn, I was able to show how I could create a real-time deepfake, turning myself into Taylor Swift.
This is going to take a little bit of prep and is going to be slightly embarrassing, but hey, for science, right? Here we go.
At the end of that LinkedIn video, I promised that I would show you exactly how I did it. And so that's what this video is about. I'm going to show you a couple ways to create real-time deepfakes. And then if you don't want to invest the time and the effort that it takes to put that together, then I'll show you a couple alternate ways that are still pretty convincing. So here we go. The first two tools that I'm going to show you will enable you to do real-time deepfakes. And what I mean by that is that you'll be looking into a camera, you'll be able to track yourself becoming that other person, and you could even capture that camera output or the window of the final output to be a little bit more accurate. You can capture it in something like OBS, which is another piece of free software. You can then emulate that as a web camera and send that into something like a Zoom meeting or Microsoft Teams meeting. So that's where your real-time deceptive capabilities come in. And that's what makes this really, really interesting. It's also very, very computing intensive. So with that, these two tools that I'm going to show you right up front, I would recommend that you use a Windows machine for. Now, actually, the machine that I'm recording everything on right now is a Mac, but I have a hardware switcher hooked up to this that allows me to share the screen and camera that's on my Windows machine. So you'll see me be able to switch back and forth fairly effortlessly in this demo. But in reality, it would probably be way easier for you just to work on a Windows machine if you want to use a real-time deepfake type of system. With that, though, don't lose hope. If you're a Mac user, I'm going to give you some ideas on things that you might be able to do to still use and be able to show this capability to people that need to understand it. The first piece of software that I want to show you is called DeepFace Live. And what DeepFace Live is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to do live deepfakes. Now, what makes this really interesting is this is a very traditional piece of deepfake software. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is that the models that it uses have been trained on potentially thousands of images of the person that you're trying to create your deepfake of. And because of those thousands of images that are needed, it's generally celebrities that you're going to be able to emulate. Or maybe if you have somebody that you've taken thousands of pictures of, high quality images that you could use for training, then you could potentially do a deepfake model of that person. And you would be doing that deepfake model in another piece of software, which is called DeepFace Lab. This is a fairly complex piece of software, but very, very powerful. Also, on these pages, if you go to this website, which is deepfakevfx.com, if you get taken there by Google or something else, this is a great informational website. Do not download from this. Do not click this button. Do not click any of this. These are like, if you're familiar with things like Minecraft, whenever you go look for Minecraft mods and they always have those fake download buttons that take you to sketchy places, that's what I'm assuming is going on right here. If you really want to go to the site that's going to have the software that you want, then you want to go here. You want to go to the GitHub repo, and that is a trusted place. You're going to get the the software that you are actually looking for there rather than a virus or piece of spyware or something like that. So these images are pretty interesting because they're actually showing you what's going on with the software. So you have all the way at the left, this is your input. This is coming from the webcam. Then within the software, there is a face mapping that happens for the person that's in front of the webcam. So it's putting all these dots to align with different critical parts of the face and the musculature. And then the celebrity or the person that the model was trained on is brought into that, and all of these little bits of information that are gleaned from where those dots are placed on the face are mapped to the face of the model. And then the last image that's over here, all the way to the right, is the blended version. So the one with the replaced face in front of yours or whoever is doing the deep fake. They have a lot of pre-trained packs that you can download and experiment right away. And so everybody from Keanu Reeves to Rob Lowe to Brian Reynolds, which is Ryan Reynolds. A lot of these, you'll notice that they've obscured the names a little bit because I think they're afraid of legal action. This would be Emma Watson, but they have it as Emily Winston. But it is really, really fun to be able to get started right away with some of these fairly well-trained models that are there. And you've got the Joker. Go to Vin Diesel, Sylvester Stallone, Tom Cruise, Natalie Portman, Lucy Liu, Jessica Alba. I can tell by the faces I have a really, really hard time disambiguating those names on my own whenever I see the software, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and go to the Windows box, and I'll show you the software. So I'm going to go there now. Okay, through the magic of video switching, I've switched over to my Windows computer now. You can see I'm in the GitHub repo. I've already downloaded the software and installed it. This is one of the easier things to get running when it comes to locally run deepfake software. You download the build that best matches your system. You'll have a folder similar to this, and you do just have this Deepface Live batch file that you click on. Get started. You'll see it starting up. This interface can be a little bit overwhelming, right? But it's not that bad. It does the job pretty well. Over here, you'll see you've got your camera source, and I just have two cameras here that I could do. One is my OBS virtual camera that I mentioned earlier. The other one is the camera that I have hooked up. So you're looking at me right now through the camera that I have hooked into my Mac computer. This camera over here is the Logitech Brio that I have hooked up to my Windows computer. And so when you see me looking straight at you over here with the face of Ryan Reynolds right now, that is through the Windows machine. When you see me look right here, this is the Mac machine. So already this is interesting, right? You see the mapping happening. You see the application of that with the celebrity face, and then you see the full version over here. Now, a couple things that are important. You will need an NVIDIA card in order for this to run smoothly on your machine. And you can add those over here. When asked for device, you'll need to put in your graphical processing unit. And do not pick CPU. You will regret if you pick CPU. It just will not be a good experience for you. And so everywhere where it says device, go ahead and pick your NVIDIA card. The other thing is you do have this target delay. This target delay, I believe, if I understand it right, is the delay between what's hitting the lens of the webcam and the output to the virtual camera. Now, a little bit longer delay might give it a little bit better processing time to come up with something that's potentially more convincing, but there's a point of diminishing returns there. So you can experiment and you see what gets the quality that you need. There is going to be a limit to what you can get though. So now I've brought up the output window, and this is Ryan Reynolds. Now, what you'll notice is that the face, especially if I take off my glasses, so it's not trying to map that, the face is not that bad. Looks pretty convincing. It's also got some weird stuff going on, right? So there's some flickering around the hairline. You'll also notice why I had put the Taylor Swift wig on whenever I did the deep fake of Taylor Swift. It's because your hairline, your hair, is what gets mapped onto this. It's just doing a face replacement. And you do have to make sure that you understand that. If you are using a piece of deep fake software that is meant to do some kind of live face replacement, then you want to dress like the person you're trying to become. That includes anything on their head, like their hair or a hat or something like that. So with that, let me, I'll grab something like this. I might just grab a hat and all of a sudden that's a little bit better, right? A little bit more convincing, a little bit more deceptive. The other thing is I might adjust my lighting a little bit. So I'm going to get up, I'm going to turn my lights down a little bit, and we'll see if that helps. Okay, the lighting of my room is down a little bit, and that's looking even better from the composite perspective. Now, if I wanted to show you some of the stuff that still doesn't look great with this, it is the lip syncing, right? The mouth isn't that great at matching all the different articulation that's really going on with my human mouth. But that's just the nature of the beast with these things. You can explain that away in your pretext if you're trying to be deceptive. There's also, my voice is not Ryan Reynolds' voice. We'll talk in another video about real-time voice streaming and how you might sync these things up to get more of a Ryan Reynolds voice with that. But if you're really thinking about this from a red team perspective, if you can simulate the way that you talk to match that person, like with Ryan Reynolds, especially if I wasn't sick right now, I might lift my voice a little bit and add a little bit of, I'm not even going to try to do it, but more like a little sardonic type of tone. If I were to raise that pitch, add a little bit more smile in my voice, then it could potentially be deceptive to somebody. I also may just act like I'm sick. If I wanted to explain my voice being different and just say, oh, God, I've been dealing with this flu for like a week. Which is true for me, by the way. Another thing, let's talk things that might give this away, because this is what you could tell your people about. This is what you could tell your family about. If I move my head too much either way, that doesn't look great, right? You're starting to see where these things fall apart. If I move really fast, if I stick my tongue out, see, that's not really deceptive at that point. What about if I put my hand in front of my face? Yeah, it froze the camera. Now let's go slower. Oh yeah, you see the way it handles those occlusions? So now, if you're thinking with this piece of software, if you suspect that somebody's trying to do a live deepfake and they're not like a nation state with a lot of money or somebody with really high technology that's surpassing what most people would download, well, then now you can start to think of some of the tells to look for, and then also some of the things you might ask somebody to do to prove that they're not a deepfake. Say, put your hand in front of your face. Yeah, that gets, it's hard for me to prevent that from happening as the person that's on the side of this trying to convince you that I'm real. Turn your head all the way to the side. Rustle your hair. All of those things could be pretty interesting. So now let me switch. I'm going to switch to a couple other people so you can get an idea of what those look like. Keanu Reeves. It's pretty good, right? Of course, you still have my hair, which messes that up. But again, hat can change that. Could also, let me see if I've got it. Grab a wig. Try to put this on for you real quick. Yeah, that starts to look a lot better real fast. Apologies for not having the hair all worked out and straightened, but if you're going to do this deceptively, right, you're going to have that all worked out, and then you're going to turn on your OBS link with your camera capture, and then you're going to try to get in touch with whoever you want to deceive. So that's how that would look, and that's actually not too freaking bad. This other piece of software that is good for real-time deepfakes is the one that I prefer right now. It is called Deep Live Cam, and over here we can go to the GitHub page, and this one's interesting because there is an Apple Silicon version. It will be really slow. So again, if you want a good one, you want to run it on a Windows machine, but don't be discouraged. There's still going to be a couple other things I can show you, even if you don't want to invest in a Windows machine. There's also, and this is really good because these installs can be quite cumbersome with all the dependencies. You have a pre-created download for Windows NVIDIA and a pre-created download with all the dependencies and everything else that can be taken care of for you for Apple Silicon. That will take you to a subscription page, so you will have to pay for that. It's affordable if you're going to be using this for some kind of regular usage. But doesn't mean you have to pay for it. There's still the free version of it that you can download and run on your own. It is a little bit in the weeds, but it's entirely doable. Sometimes there's conflicts with dependencies. There's some things that you have to work out, but if you're persistent for just a little bit of time the first day that you try to set it up, you'll be able to get through this. So everything is very clearly laid out, including all the commands. So it's not too much to be afraid of. But again, if that's too much, you can download the pre-built version of it. You can pay the $20 a month or $100 a year, whatever you're comfortable with, and you can run it, and it will do a good job for you. Let's go back over to the Windows machine, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's running. So I've just entered the execution. It's pulled up the initial interface. Now here's the thing that's really cool about Deep Live Cam. Deep Live Cam works with a single image. So that means these people that are not celebrities, that you just are able to capture a really good front-facing image of, you can now do a real-time deepfake with. And the quality is pretty astonishing. So this is my preferred one because I can just find a good image of somebody on the internet, on LinkedIn, using Google Images, or I can surreptitiously snap a screenshot of them while we're in a web meeting together, and I can become that person. Download the image of the person or the people that you want to try to become. Just click Select a Face. And you'll see I've got some celebrities here. These are some other people that I work with or people that I wanted to try to see if I could become. And well, you saw me with Keanu Reeves earlier with the Deep Face Live. Let's see what this looks like with Deep Live Cam. So over here, you do have this optional face enhancer. We'll turn that on in a minute, but for the sake of frame rates and processing, I will turn that off right now. And I'm going to click live. Again, this camera right here is the Mac. There's a camera over here that will be the PC. That'll be the one that I'm looking into for this. I'll take my glasses off. And wait for this to spin up. Okay, and yeah, that looks pretty good. So put on a hat. Yeah, even better, right? Try a wig. Yeah, this is actually really good, right? Because this is a single image. The face is holding together really well. So I would be really happy with that. Okay, now let me turn on this face enhancer. You'll get an idea what that looks like. Yeah, see, that smoothed out the skin a lot. Looks really good. But as you can see, the frame rate has slowed down noticeably. But if you're a cyber criminal, you're trying to be deceptive in some way, you're a red teamer, you're trying to see if somebody's going to fall for this, all you need is an explanation. You say, hey, my internet service provider has been running really slow today. Sorry about that. You may even start off with something like this and then just lower the quality for a bit. You can get further back from the camera too. Now, let's talk about detection for just a minute. What I want you to notice is you'll see some artifacting of my background. It's kind of like this, almost like this aura around the deep fake that's kind of making everything get a little bit digitally or digitized, I should say. So that's an interesting thing to look for. Let me switch to another one, and I'll show you something else to look for. This is going to be universal. I just don't want to put all these thoughts in one place. So take that off, just for the sake of it. Like, that's really clean. Like, if you need a really clean, fast one, you get somebody that goes between long hair and short hair, and you just throw a hat on. That's pretty good. Let me switch to another fun one. And for the sake of it, I'll just leave the hat on as well. Let's go and grab Nicolas Cage. This looks like a done for Nick Cage, but still pretty good. Yeah, like the teeth, man, check that out. This is actually not that bad at all. Now, the hat is covering a multitude of sins. So here's, well, I don't know. Maybe Nick Cage has been going gray and it's just not been letting a lot of people know. If I turn my head a lot, though, see that? That's really interesting. But like the facial structure, the bone structure, the teeth, all of that are really, really good. I'm going to turn off that enhancer again so we get some better frame rates. And just so you get an idea of the frame rates we're talking about, let me let me do this. This is average of 15 frames per second. When I turn on the face enhancer, it's under 5 frames per second. So you're really trying to figure out where you want to put your trade-offs. If I go back over here, you know, a lot of people that use webcams are not, they're not that savvy about how they use them, so they might get really far away. Here's an interesting thing. Let's look at one more detection type of mechanism. With these single frame deepfakes, it is literally just putting a mask over your face. And so if I put my hand in front of my mouth, isn't that interesting? You start to see the original image just start to come out. Pretty cool. Yeah. Let's now see what we all came for, and I'll see if I can do my best Taylor Swift. Turn off the face enhancer, and we will grab this Taylor. And what you can see is that at the very beginning, this is a little bit disturbing. You can see my beard peeking through. You can see that we do need to do something with the hair. Check this out too. Remember, this is essentially just a mask that gets put on over you. So if I do that, you can still see the lips. If I stick my tongue out, that's really weird, right? You see all the little digital artifacting over here by the police box sign every time I get close. So these could be some things to look out for with the current technology. If I turn my head too much, you start to see the rest of my head come through. Though this is doing a lot better than the one that went off the thousands of pictures. This is really, really good for a single image, right? But okay. Again, if this was for something real, you'd put the wig on, or you'd get it styled really well before you do this. I'm just doing this as fast as I can so that I can show you what it's like to do these. Now, again, we got some beard going right here. This is not great. Turn on the face enhancer. It fixes a lot of that. And then angles fix a lot of that as well. So as soon as I start doing something like this, the hair occlusion does a lot of work. You can still see, but you're starting to think now that what is really a beard is more like digital artifacts from a bad connection. The other thing is some of these, if you lead with the forehead, it gets a lot better as well. So again, remember, this is a single image that's doing this. Go back to turn that off a little bit. And then even, as I'm fairly far away, it starts to get a little bit better. The camera that I have hooked up to my Windows machine does a really good job at understanding lighting and being able to compensate quite a bit versus my professional camera over here. So if I turn off my studio light, right, again, it's that potentially now even a little bit more deceptive. I think it is, right? Now you can imagine this is somebody with a potentially slow internet connection Their voice sync isn't quite there, but it's okay once we can get some real-time voice cloning going. This is also really cool. Again, single image. Look at reaction to light. This is, I think, freaking amazing. Like, we're not getting any breakup where you're seeing the real me start to come through. I think that's pretty darn cool. Okay, let me turn lights back up. Oh, before we totally move on, let me show you one other view that I set up. I wanted to simulate what it would be like to just capture that output window and be able to show that. So I'm going to go over to this view. You can see the real me. You can see the deepfake me right next to each other. And let me grab this again. We just covered two different types of deepfake technology that will let you do a live session. Both of those run really well on Windows machines. The last one that we covered, Deep Live Cam, runs, well, it runs on Apple Silicon, but probably a little bit frustratingly slow for practical use. But I want to leave you with a couple other options just so that you can show the trajectory of where these types of technologies are going. And the first one is using a vendor that we talked about in our last video. That is one where I showed how I used a large language model that drove a Taylor Swift cloned voice that then was lip syncing to a previously recorded video of her. And I was using that to simulate how somebody might do a celebrity endorsement scam. Here's a quick clip of how that looks.
Harry, are you serious? I can't believe it's actually you. I'm like totally fangirling right now. This is amazing. It's like when you're at a cafe and you realize the person.
In that video, I mentioned a vendor called Akool, A-K-O-O-L, and they also have a live deepfake technology that runs in the cloud. So you don't need anything on your own machine. You can just hook up to that, use your internal webcam, and you can start to see some live deepfake results. Now, I'll warn you, it is slow, it is laggy, and it's not perfect, but it shows directionally where the technology is going so that you can use it to inform your friends, family. You can even play pranks on people. It's okay right now, but keep an eye on it. It's only going to get better. So let's go to that tool right now. Here we are in the interface for Akool, and I will just go down here to Live Face Swap, and that's what we're gonna click on. And here you'll see, well, you'll see it auto-picked the camera that it wanted to use, which is not the camera that I would have chosen because it gives you a terrible view of my office and how messy it is right now. But I guess we'll deal with that. I apologize for the messiness. But let me show you what this looks like. So I'll look straight at the camera. I can pick the face that I want to become. We'll go ahead and pick Nicolas Cage. And I'll click start. Oh, here we go. And what you'll notice is that there's a significant lag. But again, if you're trying to show someone directionally what this technology is like, then this can be pretty eye-opening. Again, this is a piece of SaaS software, so nothing to install. See if I can switch. There's Taylor. Does not do a good job obscuring the beard at all. Back over to Nicolas Cage. Yeah, so I think that's enough for you to get the idea. Hit stop on that. And yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but it is something. Let me show you one more thing while we're in Acool, and then I'm going to show you one other piece of software before we finish out. So in Acool, you can see over here, I have two other face swaps that I've done. And these face swaps are something you can do by going to this. And you just pop in a video of yourself or somebody else talking. And then you'll be able to select, actually, I'll just go ahead and run through the process real quick. And then I'll show you the pre-baked result that we have. Upload your video. And this is a video of me talking to camera.
Who would do book promo for me. Here's a little clip of that. Last week,
and it's literally just something that I had grabbed from another video that I shot. Then very much like the live version, you pick your person that you want to become and you generate your result. But I've already done that a couple times, so let me show you what this looks like. Here is the result of that.
Last week, I showed how I was able to make a deepfake version of Taylor Swift who would do book promo for me. Here's a little clip of that.
So it's interesting. The face for me is way too smooth and perfect and kind of plasticky looking. But again, directionally, you can still have a conversation about the ability to do face swaps and those kinds of things. So here's what the Taylor Swift version of that would look like.
If you want to know how I made this deepfake and a few other types of deepfakes, keep following. I'm going to be sharing tips and tricks and then also some things on detection coming up right here.
So yeah, still not quite as good, but your mileage may vary. Okay, let's ditch this. I have one other thing that I want to show you, and that is an interesting way to create AI puppets. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. Now we're in, as you can see, a tool called Runway. You can go to runwayml.com to get here. This is a tool that's very good at creating text to video, video to video, and doing character animation. So let me show you what this looks like for some of the purposes that we may be interested in. I'm going to go down here to start a session, and I'm going to choose Act 1. And what Act 1 lets you do is upload or record a driving video. This is you doing the voice, creating the head movements, all the things that will drive the animation that you want. And so then you upload a still image of the person or the character that you're wanting to animate, and it will then start to match your movements and do the lip sync. And then if you're really creative, you can do some post-production on that, replace the voice, add some additional camera movement and things like that. I'll show you what that looks like real quick as well. So they have a bunch of pre-made characters that you can see here. Actually, let me zoom out so you can see maybe even a little bit more. So everything from cartoon characters to very realistic characters. I'm going to zoom back in for you. But what we want to do is add a character reference of, well, I guess maybe Nicolas Cage. I think I already did one. Yeah, here is Nick Cage. Then we can either just record something straight to camera, or we can upload another video. And what I'll do is I'll upload one of the same videos that we just showed with Akul. That way you can see the comparison. You can see it's looking for a face. It got my face. It's an 8-second video. We're going to try to map my movements onto Nicolas Cage, and we're going to hit generate now. Okay, it's back. Let's see what this looks like. Remember, this is not going to have Nicolas Cage's voice. If we wanted to add that, we would do that in post-production with a voice clone of Nick Cage that would be voice to voice from the voice that I had put in that video, and it would just go through a transition process, become Nicolas Cage's voice, and then add it in post-production.
Last week, I showed how I was able to make a deepfake version of Taylor Swift who would do book promo for me.
Again, not the best, but it can be much better. It can actually be fairly deceptive. And I'll show you if I can go to some of my older sessions. So here's one of the CEO for the company that I work for, KnowBe4. His name is Stu Showerman. And I just found this documentary picture of him, uploaded that. What I did beforehand is I just spoke straight to camera, and I had already run in pre-production my voice through a clone of Stu's voice that I had made. It's not that great, but it's enough to make a little bit of a point. So let me show you what this sounds like and looks like.
Why did you start KnowBe4? And that's easy. Taco Tuesday. Free tacos. Free tacos. Tacos.
Yeah, a little bit silly. It is interesting the way that it got the head movement. The thing you'll notice about these character animations is you want to over animate because of just the way that that mapping works. It needs a little bit more to go from. So you want to open your mouth, speak and enunciate way more clearly, emote as much as you can. I have a hard time emoting, but you get the idea of what that can bring. And I'll show you one more example where I did that. Let me open an instance of another piece of software called Descript. This is where I did all of the post-production editing for this video, and you'll be able to see what it looks like. Here we are in Descript, and what you can see is there's a decent amount going on here. I have multiple versions of the audio track. I have, if we were to go through the timeline here, there are some keyframes that I set to do camera zoom in very slowly because it's a static image, but you can bring that image to life a little bit more if you just kind of make the environment move. And then I also left a version of me up here in the corner doing all the original movements and everything so that you can see what that looked like. And then I start and I end with my own voice kind of coming in and out so you can get an idea of the transition. The voice that I use for this character is actually a voice that I created using ElevenLabs, which is a really good voice cloning and production tool that we'll cover in another video. So here is that.
Look at me. Look at me very closely. What I am saying to you now is that it does not matter whether something is real or not, whether it's synthetically made. What I am saying to you is the primary question should always be, is this deceptive?
And if so, yeah.
Thanks for sticking with me. I know we covered a ton of stuff in this video. If you got some value out of it, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Also, in the comments, let me know what you want to see next. Would you like to see something about voice deepfakes and voice cloning and the way to use those effectively? Would you like to see how you can use regular media and reframe that for deceptive purposes? How that's used in disinformation campaigns and the like? Would you like to see something about large language model jailbreaking? There's a ton of stuff we can cover, and probably a lot that I've not even thought of right now. But let me know in the comments, and we'll jump right into that next time. Thanks so much.